Hey guys and girls, today we're going to talk about the very versatile Henry X Model 4570. Now why am I calling this versatile? Well, stick around and we'll talk about it and do quite a bit of shooting. Hi, George here, and welcome to Tales from Target Suite, where I'll share my perspective on guns and shooting, and we'll spend some time at the range, and every now and then we'll reconvene out in my shop back in Houston, or here at the farm in Louisiana, where I'll build some fun projects, and we'll share an adventure or two that'll make even a grown man smile. And yes, we are talking about the Henry X Model, a really nice package that was introduced late last year. I got my hands on this one for a video in March, and just kind of a quick introduction video. You've seen it in one of my brush gun videos as well. But we haven't done a lot of work with the Henry X Model, which is a shame because the X Model 4570 is a very adaptable platform for all kinds of different hunting scenarios. And why is it adaptable? For one thing, it's just the right size. You know, it's just the right size for a lever gun. It's heavy enough at 7.5 pounds to absorb some of the recoil from the 4570, heavier 4570 loads, and yet it's not too heavy to carry around all day if that's what you do. Comparing that with my Winchester 1886, which weighs in over 10 pounds, has a 26-inch barrel. It's cumbersome, it's beautiful, it's classic, but it's not as adaptable as the Henry X Model because of the X Model's size and size and configuration. And then the other component of the adaptability of the Henry X Model is the 4570 cartridge itself, because you can hunt everything from southern deer to dangerous game in Africa with the 4570. A lot of people don't understand that. They're not familiar enough with the capabilities of the 4570 to realize that it has such a broad spectrum of capabilities. And so let's take a look. We're going to shoot seven different loads today and trying to cover a fairly broad spectrum of what the 4570 is capable of. And so let's take a look at those real quick, and then we're going to step over to the chronograph. We'll shoot one round of each of those just so that you can get an idea of the velocities of the individual offerings. And then we're going to break out some reactive targets, do some shooting, and then at the end, well, we'll talk more about that here in just a minute, what we're going to do at the end. But it's going to be a first time for me, and I hope it'll be very interesting for all of us. So let's take a look at the bullets that we're going to shoot today. Okay, here's the Montana Bullet Works 320 grain hollow point. It's a hard cast bullet, gas check. Check out how they package their bullets. This is amazing. Here are my hand loads, 300 grain hollow point Hornady bullet. Here's a really interesting bullet from Lehigh Defense. This is a controlled fracturing round. It actually is designed to shed petals on impact. And there's a link in the description to a video that really shows off the capability of this controlled fracturing round in a hunting situation, so I hope you'll check that out. Here's some more hand loads. This is the 350 grain round nose bullet from Hornady. A really potent, deep penetrating, expanding, jacketed soft point bullet. All right, here's the 325 grain FTX bullet loaded in the Hornady Lever Revolution factory ammo. And velocities on this guy are projected to be 2,000 feet per second. Now here's one of my favorites. This is the 380 grain wide flat nose bullet from Lehigh Defense. It's a solid copper bullet. And if you're one of my patrons on patreon.com, you will have seen a video that I posted where I shot down a fairly substantial tree with, I don't know, 12 or 13 shots from this bullet. Penetrated all the way through the tree. Incredible, deep penetrating round from Lehigh Defense. These are hand loads. And here's some plus P loads from Grizzly. 405 grain hard cast wide long nose gas check bullets. These are coated with a clear high-tech coating so that there's no need for grease in the rings like there is from this bullet from Montana Bullet Works. This is actually a clear coating. Keeps your fingers off the lead. It's not quite as messy. Is it as effective at preventing leading? I'm not too sure about that, but anyway, this is a really powerful round I featured before in some of my videos. Another deep penetrator with lots of energy. Okay, we're going to run these guys through the chronograph. We're going to start with the kind of the lowest, working towards the most powerful, and we're going to send them down range with the Henry X model, and just record some velocity, so to give you guys a reference on bullet weight plus speed. And so we're going to start out with the Montana Bullet Works 320 grain hard cast hollow point. And I'm only going to send one shot down range with each bullet because we're really not trying to work up any loads here. We just want to give you guys like I said, an idea on the velocities. And so here goes the Montana Bullet Works 320 grain hollow point hard cast. (1,619 feet per second). Now we've got the Hornady 300 grain hollow point. This is a hand load. And I believe the load data said it should go at 1,863 feet per second. Let's see what the actual performance is out of this 19.8 inch barrel of the Henry X model. (1,838 feet per second). Okay, here's the 305 grain control fracturing bullet. It's a monolithic brass bullet. This one's brass from Lehigh Defense. And the published velocities on the package, on the box, says 2,000 feet per second. Let's see what we actually wind up with. (1989). Well, that was pretty close. All right, let's try the Hornady Lever Revolution 325 grain FTX bullet. This is the one with the soft tip for using in a tubular magazine. And the published data on this says 2,000 feet per second. Let's see what this one does. (1989). Okay, here's another Lehigh Defense bullet. This is the 380 grain wide flat nose monolithic bullet. This is one deep penetrating bullet right here because it's hard and it's got that really wide flat mepla on the nose. So let's see what this does. (1693). Here's the 350 grain Hornady round nose soft point. This should have gone, I've kind of gone out of order, but here's the Hornady 350 grain round nose soft point. $17.99. And last but not least is the Grizzly 405 grain hard cast bullet. This is actually a cast performance bullet, and I've shot this before in videos. It's a nice bullet. It's also a deep penetrator. It's going to be like the 380 grain bullet from Lehigh Defense. And I've got something special planned, if you'll stick around, for the 380 grain Lehigh Defense bullet, as well as this Grizzly hard cast bullet. We're going to do some different kind of testing with those two, so stick around. Oh yes, oh yes, I remember that bullet. 2,016 feet per second. That is one beast of a round. And if you saw the other video I did where I featured these using my 1886, I believe the muzzle velocities we got out of the 26-inch barrel versus this 19.8-inch barrel, the muzzle velocity for these same rounds was in the 2170 range, something like that. You guys can probably tell me in the comments. You might remember better than me. But out of this 7.5 pound rifle, that 2,016 feet per second is pretty stiff. Out of the 26-inch barrel of the 1886, that 2176 feet per second is pretty stiff, even though that rifle weighs 10 pounds. But we're going to talk about those two rifles and how it applies to this being a very versatile rifle. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so here's our setup, and we're going to do kind of what you're used to as far as watermelons, water jugs. I've added some sheetrock here to help slow down these big heavy bullets, and I've got a sandbank back there, and so I think most of the bullets are going to get captured in the sandbank. Okay, first round is going to be the 320 grain bullet from Montana Bullet Works, the hollow point, hard cast. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, we'll go check it out. Okay, that first bullet, that 320 grain hard cast hollow point bullet from Montana Bullet Works was caught after went through all the watermelon, and it was captured in the third water jug. So, good data point. Now we're going to shoot the Lehigh Defense 305 grain bullet, control fracturing. Okay, that was great. I caught that actually. It was sticking in the very front of the sheetrock. Just the base of it was sticking out. Okay, let me catch you guys up to speed because the camera did get turned on for the last couple of shots. But we captured the Montana Bullet Works 320 grain hollow point gas check hard cast bullet. We captured the 300 grain Hornady hand load, the 300 grain hollow point. We captured that bullet. We captured the 305 grain controlled expansion bullet from Lehigh Defense. We actually got the core of that bullet as well. And now we're going to shoot the 325 grain Lever Revolution FTX bullet. It bounced off, and it should be somewhere fairly close by, but we're running out of daylight, so I'm not going to look it up right now. If I find it later, I'll certainly put it in the video. But right now we're going to do the 350 grain Hornady round nose, jacketed round nose. This is a hand load, pretty potent round. Let's see what happens. I've got an extra water jug or two there. Okay, well, the 350 grain went straight into the center, went through the watermelon, straight into the middle of the 2.5 gallon jug behind it. and then it deflected inside the 2.5-gallon water jug, bounced off the side of the first 1-gallon water jug, and so it's somewhere right over here in the mud, and we'll look it up. And I'll tell you what I'll do. If I can find either that or the FTX bullet, I'll let you know in the comments, and then I'll post some pictures or video on Instagram, and you can check me out there if you do Instagram. So let me get set up now for the first ever on this channel, some deep penetration test using a different reactive media. You're going to enjoy this. Well, it's true. I did cut down a tree just for this test. And so what we're going to do with the 2 deep penetrating rounds is we're going to shoot through that looks to me like about a 28-inch section of black locust. And if you're not familiar with the black locust, I don't know if it's going to show up here, but there are some really, really nasty thorns there. So if that didn't show up on the video, I'm sorry, but that's why I sacrificed that tree, because it's been a thorn in our side now for probably 5 or 7 years that it's been growing. And so let's get set up now, and I'm going to shoot the 380 grain solid copper Lehigh Defense bullet end to end through that. We'll see how far it goes, and then we'll turn around. I've got another section of trunk about the same size, and we'll shoot the Grizzly hardcast 405 grain through it. So let's see what happens. There it is, the beautiful 380 grain solid copper wide flat nose bullet from Lehigh Defense. Let's see if it'll get all the way through that chunk of black locust. Okay, it didn't get through, so we're just going to put another bullet kind of right beside it, the hardcast bullet from Grizzly. There it is. All right, I'll see if I can get them to kind of parallel each other, and then we'll cut that log and see what we find. Okay, that's all the shooting for now. Let's go take a look at that. But that second shot right here, here's the first shot went in right here. The second shot's right there. And it just split this log all to pieces. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get the sledgehammer and some wedges, and we'll pop this thing open and see if we can find those bullets. There it is. There it is, and I'm going to say that is all of 14 inches of penetration. And I'll dig that out here in just a second, and we'll take a look at it. And here's the Grizzly load. It only went in 7.5 inches. Yeah, probably 7 inches. And it is completely trashed. Yeah, it's just in little pieces. All the way down through here. It was shedding. There's a chunk of it right there. So the Lehigh Defense. That's a lot to summarize here really quick, but the Lehigh Defense, man, it went way into that log. And so what did we learn here? Well, one thing for sure, the 300 grain Hornady hollow point at the velocities that I was loading for would make for an excellent deer cartridge. With penetration of a watermelon and one water jug, I would not call that extreme penetration, but adequate penetration. And let me show you what the bullets look like. Well, here's the 320 grain hollow point bullet gas check from Montana Bullet Works. And you can see right up in here somewhere how far it penetrated, because it's the end of the day and I haven't looked at the footage yet. Here is the control fracturing bullet from Lehigh Defense, and look at where those petals broke off. Is that brutal? Man, that is brutal. And just FYI, well, let me show you this last bullet. This is the 300 grain Hornady hollow point. Now, if that isn't a pretty round, nice mushroom, gosh, it's got to be close to 60 caliber, and it penetrated this much. And so that's got to be a great deer round. Unfortunately, the 350 grain Hornady we didn't find, and the Hornady FTX bullet from the Lever Revolution rounds we did not find those either. But I can tell you where I found this guy. I found this guy stuck right there, and he actually came out. He actually came out right here, went through all the water jugs, and came out and stuck right here. And so that Lehigh Defense control fracturing bullet is a beast. Well, it's been a long day, but I tell you what, I'm loving the Henry X Model 4570 more and more. And if we didn't do anything today, I hope we have proved that it is a very versatile package. And with the 4570, we can load down for, like with the 300 grain hollow point for deer or pigs in the south. We can go to the 350 grain if you're farther up north hunting moose or elk. And if you're into dangerous game territory, that 380 grain wide flat nose bullet from Lehigh Defense. Wow, what a monster that is. I would stand behind that round in almost any scenario. And and let's don't disrespect the Grizzly Plus P too much, because that hard locust log was probably just more than the hard cast could take, and there's not much out in the wild that would replicate that kind of trauma to a hard cast bullet, because those are good, decent bullets. But I love the 4570 X model. I would like the idea of the 44 caliber X model and the 38-357 versions. Great ideas. They're just not as versatile as this guy, because this guy I can go anywhere and find something that's going to work without compromise for the purpose it's intended. A fairly short range, very powerful and adjustable power level. Henry X Model 4570 side load gate. I love it. I'll see you guys in the next video.